Just before our 15th anniversary, my husband, Adam, sat me down with an unsettling calmness. "I want a divorce," he said, "but I'm keeping the house. You can't afford it." His family grinned, their approval evident. I remained composed, rising to my feet, sliding a folder toward him, and saying, "You'll enjoy what my lawyer sent me today." As Adam read the first page, his confidence faded, and his mother let out a shocked scream. "This can't be happening." I took a seat at the dining table, cradling my coffee cup. As Adam cleared his throat, his parents sat beside him, his mother's smug expression growing wider, his father looking disinterested, as if this was an everyday conversation. Adam leaned in, his hands folded as if delivering a business pitch. "I want a divorce," he said, tone steady, "but I'm keeping the house. You can't afford it." His mother's smirk deepened, his father gave a faint nod, clearly on his side, as if this decision had been made without me. Though my stomach churned, I kept my face neutral. This wasn't a surprise. I had seen the signs, the late nights, the hushed phone calls, the colder behavior from his family, which had never been warm to me to begin with. And then there was the money. Money had always been an issue. Adam came from a wealthy family, I didn't. His parents had always made it clear they didn't think I was good enough for him. A small-town girl who worked 2 jobs to pay for college wasn't their idea of an ideal match for their son, but I didn't let that bother me. I had built a life with Adam, or so I thought. But over the past year, the bank statements weren't adding up. Our joint savings, built over 15 years, was disappearing, but I wasn't spending it. When I asked Adam about it, he brushed it off. "I handle the finances, don't worry about it," he'd say, kissing me on the forehead as if I were a child. I worried, and I started digging. What I found shook me. So now, as Adam sat across from me with his smug grin, his mother nodding her approval, I calmly set down my coffee, reached into my bag, and slid a thick manila folder toward him. "You'll love what my lawyer sent me this morning," I said. His smirk faltered as he opened the folder. The color drained from his face as he read the first page. His mother peered over his shoulder, her expression twisting into disbelief. "This can't be happening," she shrieked. I leaned back in my chair, tilting my head. "Oh, but it is." And I let them read on. 15 years of marriage, 15 years of partnership, that's what I thought we had, but it turns out, Adam had been planning this for a long time. I found out that Adam had been secretly transferring money from our joint account into one of his own, quietly, steadily, for years. At first, it was small amounts, just enough to go unnoticed, a couple hundred here, a few thousand there. Then, the amounts grew, 10,000, 20,000, until, one day, I logged into our account to find what should have been a 6-figure balance had dwindled to barely enough to cover a month's bills. Naturally, I confronted him. I asked him where the money went. He laughed, actually laughed. "You wouldn't understand," he said, dismissively, "just let me handle it." That's when I knew he had no intention of fixing anything. So I hired a forensic accountant. The findings were devastating. Adam wasn't just moving money, he was gambling it. He'd invested in shady ventures. He'd been spending large sums on someone who wasn't me. And worst of all, his parents were complicit. The house, his supposed prize, wasn't even his to claim. When we bought it, Adam's parents insisted on contributing to the down payment. They were sure to make it known every chance they got. What they didn't realize was that their help left a paper trail. Their names were on the deed, which meant they had a stake in the property. And when I discovered that Adam had been secretly selling off our assets, including trying to use the house behind my back, I had legal grounds to stop him. Because of his debts, his shady dealings, and the fraud he'd committed in my name, the courts wouldn't be awarding him anything, the house wouldn't be his, the accounts wouldn't be his, the business he'd tried to fund with stolen money, gone. And the best part? His parents, who had smirked at me across the table, were now realizing that their son's financial ruin was also theirs. They had co-signed his failed investments, they had helped him hide assets, they had encouraged him to think he could leave me behind without consequences. His mother clutched her pearls, yes, literally clutched them, while his father, usually stoic, ran his hand over his face, realizing the depth of the mess. Adam slammed the folder shut, his jaw tight. "This isn't over," he growled. I smiled. "Oh, darling," I said, standing up and grabbing my coffee, "it was over the moment you underestimated me." And I walked out of the house. For now, because soon, it would be mine. Adam sat there, His face a mix of anger and panic. His mother was still in shock, while his father flipped through the documents, his hands trembling slightly. I could feel their world crashing down around them, but this was just the beginning. As I walked away, Adam sprang from his chair. "You're not taking my house," he shouted. I stopped in my tracks and turned to face him. "You mean our house?" I said, raising an eyebrow. "Or the one you tried to sell behind my back?" His jaw tightened. His mother snapped out of her daze, pointing a trembling finger at me. "You manipulative." I raised my hand, cutting her off. "Careful," I said, my voice calm but unwavering. "You might want to save your energy for the lawyers you'll be needing." I walked out the door, letting it slam behind me. The next few weeks were utter chaos. Adam bombarded me with calls and texts. His messages bounced between remorse and rage. "Let's talk. We can work this out. You have no right to do this. This is my house. You can't win." I didn't respond. Instead, I let my lawyer handle it. Then, Adam made his next blunder. Around 2 a.m., I got a call from a neighbor. "Hey," she said, voice hesitant, "I don't mean to alarm you, but Adam's at the house, and he's throwing stuff onto the lawn." I sat up. "What do you mean, throwing stuff?" "He's tossing furniture out like a madman. His parents are there too." I was already getting dressed. "Did you call the cops?" I wasn't sure if I should, but, "You might want to come over here." I grabbed my car keys and drove straight there. When I arrived, the sight was unbelievable. The front yard was a wreck, my furniture, my books, everything was scattered on the lawn. Adam stood on the porch, breathing heavily, while his mother barked orders. "She doesn't live here anymore," she yelled, "get rid of all of it." His father stood quietly, looking more worn than angry. I stepped out of the car, phone in hand. "What are you doing?" Adam spun around, face red. "You left, right? You walked out. That means you abandoned it. This is my house now." I took a deep breath. "You really don't understand the law, do you?" I walked up the driveway, holding my phone up for him to see. "By the way, the cops are on their way." His mother's face twisted with fury. "You called them?" "No," I said, smiling. "The neighbor did." At that moment, flashing lights lit up the street. The next few minutes were a blur. The cops asked questions. I explained everything. Adam stood there, stammering, realizing the colossal mistake he'd made. In his frantic attempt to take the house, he had just committed illegal eviction and property destruction. And now, he was in trouble. But Adam wasn't finished. A few days after the confrontation with Adam, my lawyer called with some unexpected news. "He's fighting back," she said. "Hugh's trying to drag this out in court." I sighed, already feeling the weight of his desperation. "Of course he is. He's also claiming that you were hiding money," she added. I nearly laughed. "That's rich." "It won't hold up," she assured me. "We have all the records, but be prepared, desperate people do stupid things." And sure enough, the very next day, I got a notification from my bank. Someone had tried to access my personal account. My stomach dropped, and I immediately knew who was behind it. Adam was spiraling, losing control, trying to hurt me in any way he could, but what he didn't realize, I had been one step ahead the entire time. I didn't waste a second. I called my lawyer and instructed her to freeze everything, accounts, assets. I didn't want Adam getting his hands on a single penny. By the end of the day, Adam was locked out of every account with my name on it. I sent him one text: "Nice try. Hope you enjoy explaining fraud to the judge." His response came in seconds: "You're ruining my life." I stared at the message, feeling a cold sense of satisfaction. "No, Adam, you did that all on your own." But just when I thought I had him cornered, he did something I never saw coming. He moved his mistress into the house. Not just any mistress, though. It was Danielle, someone I knew. Danielle had always been overly friendly with Adam at work events. She'd laugh too hard at his jokes, touch his arm a little too much, but I never suspected anything more. A neighbor sent me a photo of them unloading suitcases from her car, walking into my house like it was theirs. I stared at the picture, rage bubbling up inside me. This wasn't heartbreak anymore, this was anger. I forwarded the photo to my lawyer. "We need to move faster," I told her. She sighed. "He's digging his own grave. Let him keep making mistakes." But I couldn't wait. It was time to act. I'd been holding on to a piece of information for the right moment, and now, it was time to use it. Adam hadn't just mismanaged money, he'd committed fraud. Years ago, He had forged his parents' signatures to take out a massive loan in their name. He had gambled away most of the money, and his parents never knew, because he had been making the payments, until recently. I made one phone call, an anonymous tip, and a week later, Adam's parents received a notice. The bank was suing them for fraud. Unless they could prove they hadn't taken out the loan, they were responsible for the debt. It didn't take long for them to figure out it was Adam. When they did, all hell broke loose. I was sitting in a cafe when I got the message from Adam's mother. "You did this. I hope you're happy." I smirked and replied, "No, Adam did this. You just covered for him too long." That night, Adam texted me, "We need to talk, please." I ignored it. An hour later, another text, "Danielle left." Then, "My parents aren't speaking to me." And finally, "Are you happy now?" I read the messages, feeling something I hadn't in a long time, freedom. But it wasn't over, not even close. A few days later, after Danielle left him, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Adam's father. "You need to come to the house," he said, his voice strained. "Why?" I asked, still hesitant. There was a long pause before he said, "Please." Something in his voice made me listen. When I arrived, I wasn't prepared for what I saw. The lawn, once pristine, was overgrown. The front door stood open. Inside, a disaster. Furniture overturned, walls dented, and in the middle of the wreckage, Adam sat on the couch, bottle in hand, looking hollow. His mother stood stiffly by the doorway, arms crossed. His father, weary and beaten down, sat across from Adam. "Why am I here?" I asked, keeping my distance. Adam lifted his head and met my eyes. For the first time in this whole mess, I didn't see arrogance or anger, I saw fear. "I lost everything," he whispered. I didn't respond. He let out a bitter laugh. "Danielle took what little money I had left. My parents are being sued. The house, it's not mine anymore, is it?" I didn't answer, just stared at him. His mother scoffed. "This is your fault." She spat at me. I slowly turned to her. "My fault?" I repeated. "I destroyed everything? Or did your son do that when he drained our accounts? When he committed fraud? When he moved his mistress into my house?" She opened her mouth, but Adam spoke first. "She's right, Mom," he said, his voice small. His mother whipped around, stunned. "Excuse me?" Adam's voice cracked as he spoke. "She's right. I thought I could start over, but I lost, and now I have nothing." The room went quiet, and for a moment, the weight of it all hung there. His mother turned on him. "You're just going to sit there and give up?" she hissed. "What else can I do?" he snapped back. I tried to fight, but I lost. Finally, his father spoke, his voice heavy. "Maybe it's time you stop blaming her and start accepting the consequences of your own choices." His mother's eyes shot to him. "You're taking her side now?" His father sighed deeply. "I'm not taking anyone's side, I'm just tired." And in that moment, I saw the truth. Adam's father was tired. Tired of the lies, tired of the excuses, tired of covering for his son's mistakes. Adam's mother stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Adam rubbed his face with his hands, his voice barely audible. "She'll never forgive me. She'll never forgive me," I corrected, "because it's easier to hate me than to admit she raised a failure." Adam flinched but didn't argue. I looked around the wreckage of the house, at the mess he'd made of everything. "I assume this means you're not going to fight me in court anymore?" Adam let out a deep sigh. "What's the point?" "Smartest thing you've said in years." A bitter smirk crossed his face. "Figures I'd only get smart once I've lost everything." I didn't reply. Instead, I pulled a set of documents from my bag and placed them on the table. "The final agreement," I said. "Sign it, and this all ends today." Adam stared at the papers, his hand hovering over the pen. Then, with a resigned sigh, he signed. Just like that, it was over. The aftermath was quiet. The house was mine. Adam moved out the next day, packing up his things without a word. His father seemed relieved it was over. His mother refused to acknowledge me, but that didn't matter anymore. Danielle? She was gone. Last I heard, she had drained whatever was left of Adam's money and moved on to her next victim. As for me, I stood in my empty house, finally taking it all in. It felt different now, lighter, like the past had been swept away. I should have felt victorious, but all I felt was exhaustion. 15 years. I had spent them building a life with someone who, in the end, saw me as disposable, but as I stood there, I felt something else too. Hope. because for the first time in years, my future belonged only to me, and that was worth more than anything Adam had ever stolen. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video, stay stunned.